Hi, everyone. Can you believe we finally made it? I'm honored to stand up here as our voice, and here's what I feel like we have to say. We are terrified. It may not be the inspiring words that you want to hear right now, but let's be real. For a lot of us, we're terrified. We may be terrified of what's next, life's future steps in fulfilling its demands, and of course, public speaking. I remember coming to Wake Tech and taking my first campus tour, attending my first class, giving my first speech, and general life challenges that we all face while attending school. And all of those evoked one emotion: fear. There is no doubt that at some point in your Wake Tech career, you have felt fearful. Fear is an interesting thing. Sometimes there are things we see, like spiders, the dentist, the ocean. Sometimes they're irrational, like clowns, ladders, or tight spaces. But sometimes they may be invisible things, like people's opinions, judgments, or how they feel about us. Life has a lot of fears in mind for you, and those fears will pull the rug out from underneath you if you let it. Don't let fear be the cause of your failure. So what are we most afraid of? I've organized those things into 3 categories for us today. 1, the world we're walking into. 2, how other people see us. And 3, our own role in this world. So let's first talk about the world we're walking into. I want you to imagine the very last thing you saw on the news. It could have been something political, something economic, something about another country. But no matter what it was probably disheartening. Tensions are rising between nations, the average price of gas is $4 a gallon, and anxiety and depression rates have never been higher across all ages. Think about how much the world has changed just since we started our journeys here at Wake Tech. The world and its demands can be terrifying. We don't know how it's going to change and if it's going to be good or bad. But to some degree, this is our purpose here on earth, is to make it better. For each generation, it is their job to make it better for the next generation. We are to choose love and acceptance instead of animosity. We are to weep with those who weep, rejoice with those who rejoice. And remember, at the end of the day, all we truly want is to love and be loved. So I challenge you today, channel that fear into motivation to make the world better than you found it. So now that we've tackled that one, I want you to imagine the last time you felt insecure. Why did you feel that way? Were you in a large social gathering? Were you struggling with your body image? Or maybe someone said something that really caught you off guard? Feeling insecure is usually the result of how other people view us. If we assume that they are thinking negatively about us, it makes us think negatively about ourselves. In other words, we let what other people think about us be the filter for how we should think about ourselves. Maybe you don't feel like your boss likes you, or your friend, or someone you really adore. And maybe that fear is so strong you won't let yourself be your true self. You won't laugh too loudly. You won't say what you actually think. You let people talk poorly to you without sticking up for yourself. But here's how we face that. And the truth may be hard to swallow, but sometimes people won't like us. Not everyone has gone through the world being liked. And if we aren't careful, we can cheat ourselves out of a life full of joy and memories, trying to be on good terms with everyone. So again, I challenge you to exist loudly, because at the end of the day, all we truly have is ourselves. Finally, for a lot of us, we're scared of how we fit into the world. Right now, we've held the successful title of student, but that is about to change. Maybe it's going to get molded as you go from student of Wake Tech to student at another university. Maybe it'll be completely retired as you go into the workforce. Or maybe you're the adult learner who has to reintegrate into what your life was before after coming back to Wake Tech. Whatever that role is turning into, student to worker, or student to unknown, we find ourselves at a crossroads, asking the age-old question of who am I? As of today, you're a Wake Tech graduate, and you should celebrate. And because of this, we take along the collective experiences of those surrounding you. So I guess a better question is, who are we? We are the single parents who decided to go back and get a better job and education for our kids. We are the student just out of high school, excited for what life has to offer. We are the first generation graduate who immigrated to America and excited for what's next. Whatever your story is, Knowing what you've accomplished with challenges you've been given shouldn't stop here today. As we're trying to figure out who we are going into the next chapter, we can transform that fear of the unknown into pride in what we've accomplished as graduates and bring these memories of strength and courage with us as we move on to the next step. So, as we leave here today, no matter which type of fear applies to you, challenge yourself to take action, and they will no longer be at the forefront of your mind. You're afraid of the current situation of the world? Surprise your best friend with their favorite candy. Leave non-perishable food and water to give out to homeless people on the street. You're anxious about how other people feel about you? Go to the grocery store in your pajamas. Go into new and unfamiliar social settings and tell yourself more things you love about yourself than going home and critiquing everything you did. Regret is temporary, but missed opportunities are forever. In other words, you should be more scared to say, "What if?" than to say, "I regret." You don't know how you fit into the world? What better time than right now to figure out? Get to know what you like and don't like, your interests, your hobbies, and your passions, and find people you admire and ask what qualities they have that you can then invest in yourself. Lastly, let the confidence that others have for you be the encouraging voice inside of your head, whether that's been your professor, your child, or your best friend. I know for me that's always been my dad, who's been my greatest supporter. And let the words of others inspire you. As the iconic Taylor Swift once said, "Fearless is not the absence of fear. It's not being completely unafraid. Fearless is having fears. Fearless is having doubts. Fearless is living in spite of the things that scare you to death." We leave here today as graduates. Let's be fearless. Thank you.